Well, it's finally over. Halloween officially ends this week. Until the next one. Let's talk about Halloween Ends. Welcome back to ML Miller Frights. I'm ML Miller. Before we begin, please do me a favor and punch that like button down below. Share this video with all of your social media addicted pals. Click subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for notifications. Halloween Ends is new in theaters. It's directed by David Gordon Green and written by David Gordon Green, Danny McBride, Chris Bernier, Paul Brad Logan, and based on characters created by John Carpenter and Debra Hill. 4 years after Halloween Kills ended, the small town of Haddonfield is still hurting from Michael's last attack. Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, and her daughter Allison, played by Andi Matichak, have attempted to put their lives back together, with Laurie writing a book about surviving trauma and Allison working as a nurse in a clinic. Meanwhile, a young man named Corey Cunningham, played by Rohan Campbell, accidentally killed the child he was babysitting as a teenager and is still being ostracized by the town for it. When bullies begin threatening Corey at a gas station, Laurie steps in and helps him out and introduces him to Allison in hopes the two of them could share a connection together and help each other heal. Turns out Allison finds herself attracted to Corey, and though he is troubled, she thinks they can build a relationship together. It seems Haddonfield needs a boogeyman to persecute and fear, and while tensions begin to flare against Corey, Allison and Corey plan on leaving the town for good and beginning a whole new anonymous life together somewhere else. Oh, and Michael Myers sort of fits in there somewhere, somehow. Where to begin? Okay, as slasher movies go, Halloween Ends is okay. It's got some gnarly and creative kills with some grisly weaponry. Unlike Halloween Kills, where we simply got to see Michael do his thing by wandering around Haddonfield and offing random people who gets in the way, Halloween Ends gives the killer some elaborate sets to do some unique damage. So if you're just looking for a movie to rack up some cruel, unusual, and downright strange kills, Halloween Ends at least delivers that. The main problem with Halloween Ends? It needs more Michael. I swear, Michael Myers is in this film for about 5 to 10 minutes. Yes, he is a factor in the way things play out, but this isn't a Michael Myers movie. It's not even really a Laurie Strode movie. It's a movie about Corey Cunningham, an impressionable, damaged soul who is slowly being lured to the dark side. It's not necessarily a bad character study of Corey. The actor is not particularly awful, though he's pretty pouty throughout the entire film. It's just that for a franchise to supposedly come to an end, I find it strange that the film would dedicate so much to a brand new character. Yes, it's obvious from the spoilerific trailers that they were trying to gear Corey up to be the next Michael, and I guess the twist is going to be whether he gives in to the dark side or finds some kind of salvation with Laurie and Allison. But still, people come to a Halloween movie to watch Michael Myers do his thing. Some might even come to see how Jamie Lee once again manages to outrun evil on two legs. What they don't come to see is some snot-nosed kid crying because no one in town likes him. Halloween 2018 was about surviving trauma. It was probably the most thoughtful of the series filmmaker David Gordon Green produced because it had a strong central character to focus on in Laurie Strode. Jamie Lee gave a pretty satisfying performance where she was on the edge of becoming the monster she had been running away from all of these years. It was a personal story. Sidelined after the events of that film, Curtis was basically bedridden all through Halloween Kills. While Halloween 2018 looked inward, Halloween Kills looked outward. It was a film with underlying thematics dealing with the way the mob can be the monster, basically reflecting the headlines coming out of pre-pandemic times where riots in the streets were commonplace in America. It was about the dangers of mob mentality and of becoming the thing you're fighting against. Halloween Ends' main theme is how evil can be a virus, as Green once again turns to current events to reflect the dangers that hit Haddonfield, the typical small every town in America. Numerous times throughout Ends, one character talks to another about how violence is contagious. Corey says it to his bully. Laurie pontificates about it in her book. Corey seems to catch whatever Michael is infected with as the story goes on. Now, as much as this can be seen as a metaphor about the COVID virus, sadly, it can also be politicized quite easily as a story about how an everyman can be influenced and infected by a powerful man doing evil things. Yeah, I think you know where this is going. This is not unlike how some people view those who follow the Orange Man as if it is a growing, underlying threat spreading across small-town middle America. Now, I don't want to get political about this. Vote for who you want, believe in whatever party you follow, but it's not that far of a metaphorical stretch once it's been pointed out. Underlying themes aside, this is a very flawed movie. There's absolutely no tension or mystery going on. Corey is going down a dark path. The focus was on him the entire time. The people you paid money to see are merely tertiary players in the story. Remember the feeling you felt when Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, came out, and instead of Jason, you got the story of someone else being the killer? While I know that film has its fans, it was disappointing when you found out who the killer was. Now, it's not beat for beat, but Halloween Ends reminded me a lot of that film. But unlike A New Beginning, there was some kind of mystery as to whether Tommy was wearing the hockey mask or if it was someone else, like some random ambulance driver. Nah, it couldn't be that dude. In Halloween Ends, there is no mystery. We follow Corey on his dark path every step of the way. I think using the same themes, there could have been a compelling mystery where we don't know if it is Corey or Michael doing the killing. But because we are shown everything every step of the way, there's no mystery to be had. It makes for a very anticlimactic movie that spells out everything by the end. There are some interesting moments that I thought could have been elaborated on to make for a better story, but everything takes a backseat to Corey's. The virus angle is interesting. The fact that the town blames Laurie for tempting a mentally ill man to come and get her is another interesting angle to follow. Hell, the fact that Allison recognizes some darkness in Corey and is attracted to it is an avenue I would have liked to have been explored. But instead, it's all about Corey, the guy no one knew before this film existed. Jamie Lee Curtis looks exhausted. She seems tired in this movie and really delivers a lazy portrayal compared to 2018's. Andy Matichak looks tired and zombie-like as well. Hell, even Will Patton looks like he just crawled out of bed. There's just no oomph to this one. There's no sense of urgency. Even lines that would have had people cheering in 2018 as Laurie takes on Michael feel plopped out instead of spoken with power. It feels like everyone involved were just going through the motions to get this whole thing over with. Yes, there's a climactic battle between Michael and Laurie. It's bloody, it's visceral, it's powerful, to a point. There is some kind of closure, I guess, but honestly, no one wants to see the killer killed in these stories. I liked Halloween Kills because it left you with the knowledge that the boogeyman is still out there. It reflected the first film in that sense. I really fear that these big-budget horror films are only doing damage to our beloved slashers. We know that there will be another Halloween. The Akkads won't let this series die. So there's really no heft in trying to say this is the last nail in Michael's coffin when they already said they've left room for another. I was excited to have David Gordon Green's name attached to this trilogy, but it appears all the writing team did was tweak headlines and mash them in to fit into a Michael Myers story. I find these high-priced rebootquels going against what the original concept of the first movie was trying to convey. While it had its moments, this new trilogy never had the palpable tension of the original, and while it's great to have some production values and talented actors, seeing them go safely through the motions really ends up disappointing more than anything else. The real kicker is that while this trilogy did a lot to denounce all of the sequels in hopes to clarify a lot of the damage done, it did some damage itself. It erased Michael's ties to Laurie, a move I never supported because it negates the reason to bring back Laurie in the first place. This issue was dealt with much better in the last Texas Chainsaw Massacre, believe it or not. While the movie had its faults, the scene where Leatherface fails to recognize Sally Hardesty really drove the point home that this wasn't personal between Sally and Leatherface. She was just another cow on the slaughter line to him. and all the pain she felt and focus she had towards revenge was pointless and futile because the chainsaw maniac didn't give much thought about her once she escaped his clutches. Halloween 2018 drove the point home that there was no point to Michael's fury, and that evil simply exists. Laurie just happens across Michael through happenstance in that film. But Halloween Kills hinted that there might be some method behind Michael's madness. He returned to his childhood home. He positioned people in poses reflecting photos they were in. He stared out of the window at something. Halloween Ends addresses none of that. And man, that just sucks. So yeah, Halloween Ends. It's not the ending I wanted. It didn't surprise me. It didn't really hit me with much impact. I really wish it did. But everything from the final decisive blows in the climax, which I won't reveal, to all the stuff not about Michael and Laurie leading up to it, just felt as if they really didn't know how to end this franchise or want to figure out a satisfying way to do so. Now, there is an interesting way of looking at Halloween Ends that gives me a bit of hope for the franchise, but I'm going to save that for another video next week because I'll probably get into spoilers then. Until then, see this movie for yourselves. While it disappointed me as a Halloween film, it does have its moments. Still, the whole film sort of just left me feeling depressed.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your